guys, welcome to USC's Final Games Pitch Day. I'm Drew, and I'm the team lead on TheMaestros.
I'm James, and I'm the lead designer.
And I'm art director Brian Shaw.
So TheMaestros is an online multiplayer real-time strategy game for the PC, much like StarCraft or Command & Conquer, games you might know. In TheMaestros, you play as a maestro, silently conducting a warfare from behind the scenes. You're vying for control of the beautiful and mysterious islands of Kenji. And you'll be leading one of the two factions. Either the Tinkerers from the Kingdom of Teutonia with their mechanical robots, or the Cloners from Genome City, who like to build crazy mutations and fight with those. One of these two characters will be your mobile headquarters, your moving base on the ground on the island. And if they die, it's game over, so watch out. They'll be creating these units and performing various other tasks. These units can further transform into larger, more powerful units. So why make this game? Well, we are aware of the unique constraints of Demo Day, and we really want to embrace the idea of making an RTS that can be demoed on a showroom floor that can grasp players' attention in just a couple of minutes. With that in mind, we have these 4 design pillars which we think will help us achieve that goal. The first is mobility. Mobility in our game is everywhere. Every unit you make can move. There are no static structures. We believe this provides interesting player choices and allows for more conflict. The second is accessibility. We want this game to be approachable by gamers that are new to the RTS genre. Third is punchy combat. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. We want these battles to feel awesome. And we want them to happen early, and we want them to happen often. And that's our early engagement pillar. With that, let's jump into the prototype. I'll be driving, and James will talk you through some of the mechanics in more detail.
Okay, so we've been developing this prototype to essentially show off the main mechanics of our game. Our game's not going to work exactly like this, but it should give you a good idea of the moment-to-moment gameplay. So essentially, that is your commander. He's your mobile headquarters. He can move around, as you can see, and he's producing base units, which in this game are called clad. So basically, one of the ways we're making this game more accessible is by taking out or reducing the need for micromanagement. So essentially, as long as you have enough resources to produce plaids, they're going to keep spawning on a fixed timer. So Drew's going to move over these plaids up to that stationary blue structure you see in the top right of the screen. So those are called factories. They're essentially fixed locations on the map in which another main mechanic of our game occurs, which is class switching. Units can change from one type of unit to another through these factories based on the type of factory that it is. So just being transformed. They're transformed into a unit that is more powerful and does more damage. Very basic, but we're just going to move up and display another mechanic here. So essentially, now Drew's going to go up and try to gather resources. So these resources, like I said, are basically how these units are paid for. So the more resources that you have, the bigger your army is going to eventually be. So he's playing against John right now, who's sitting right over there. And basically, he's engaging on one of his units. You see those minerals are called arcanium, but now he's going to have to run away from John because John's army is much stronger. So basically, these resources are fast pickup and fast spawning powers. So his units these resources are quick respawning and quick gathering and place all over the map. And this is essentially to create that constant early engagement. You have to go out and change your base units. You have to go out and gather these resources which are quickly spawning and quickly gathering. So you're constantly moving around the map. So we hope this will create much more engagement and a much quicker start. So here, let's keep moving up. Drew's going to change his strategy now, which is something cool that we found that you can do with this class switching mechanic. So essentially, you can change your strategy on the fly by changing your units. So he has changed into units that do more explosive kind of area of effect damage. So they're very useful against the crowds. but essentially, you see you can change the units on the fly. You see basically how the main mechanics of the game are going to work. Now the units are going to be a lot more interesting, a lot more different in the game. This is basically a proof of concept, like you can change your units on the fly and you can change up your strategy. So here, let's go into different units that were pre-concepted for the game. So this is an example unit for the Alchemist race. It's called the Vine Crawler. Its basic attacks essentially slow the enemy. And then let's go to the next one. Here's the Rolling Drake. It has two forms. It's essentially, its first form is a ball form, where it's essentially very fast, but it can't deal damage. In the second form, it's very slow moving unit, but it deals a lot of high damage. So it can deal a lot of damage, but people will just run away from it. So you can use something like the Vine Crawler, which will essentially slow the unit and maximize its efficiency. So we want to create a lot of units which basically create interesting bridging gameplay. And I'm going to pass this over to Brian, and he's going to talk about the art style of our game.
So TheMaestros is going to be a whimsical, brutal vampire game. No matter how fantastical or complicated you get with the art, forms of units need to read clearly to the player. The color cues or effects need to be absolutely clear, and the gestures of our terrain and environments need to have some sense of purpose behind it. Now, even though the world is somewhat of a violent, factional conflict world where Prussian diesel steel meets gaudy scientism, we still want to have this like cute and lovable and like humor kind of throughout the game. So creatures are still, you know, maybe have them as pets, or the robots are kind of skipping around while they're moving around the map. In the end, we want the game to feel like an animated, oil-painted miniature war game where tiny figures are duking it out and bonking each other on the head.
So we talked about the game we want to build. Now, how are we going to build it? We're going to move from the Spring engine, which you saw the prototype in, to a more mature engine, the Unreal Development Kit. A lot of our team actually has experience with this engine, and after a year working on it as the lead network engineer on multiplayer space shooter Core Overload, kind of learns the ins and outs of the networking model and the rest of the engine, and I really think it's best suited for our particular goals. Further, they've released the RTS Starter Kit for UDK. This is going to lay a little bit more of the foundation of our game so that we have to spend less time implementing core mechanics to the RTS genre, and we can spend more time implementing core mechanics to the Maestros. Here's a little production plan for our game. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically we're going to spend the first semester building up tools and then fleshing out the first race, and the second semester we'll go into polishing and finishing the second race. With the tools that we've already built, we think that the content will move a lot faster after that point. And now what I'm most proud of about this game. We have an incredibly talented team that we've put together for this game. If everyone who's worked on the game or will be working on the game could please stand up. We have over half a dozen Final Games veterans and talented people in literally every genre and discipline in the game. I really think that we can bring this game to life. Now, with the last minute or so, I'd like you guys to take a look at the concept art role and how our team has visualized this game.
questions afterwards. So we'll start judges. We're going to prioritize questions from anybody who's judging, and we can take questions from anybody else. So I actually have questions, so I'll ask them. Which is, in designing an RTS game, the biggest thing is going to be around balance, especially in the community. So we just talked about a little bit about your design plan, and it probably is up there in your sheet, but a little hard to see. And usability testing along with that.
So we have a usability tester on the team. She's going to be coordinating usability testing, things of that nature. And we're planning to implement design tools such as what we did this year on Oracle.
You might have seen, but others probably haven't. We've implemented a speed map that has events. It's sort of an event map in time and space, and this is going to be really important for our game to see where things are happening on the map because it's really map driven.
Got a question also similarly about your tech trees things that are, as Larry said, are so crucial to the RTS style. You do have some success in veterans, obviously, before Overload, but that was a singular player experience in the room full of singular players. This has such important dependencies, it's different from playtesting. You need to have a dedicated person on the forum, game balance as well as tech trees. Where is that in your schedule?
We definitely have people dedicated to systems design and detectories. John and Calvin actually have both been working on that pretty heavily. And we have an idea of how we're going to scope down the detectory a little bit from other RTS games to sort of fit it in the time slot that we want the game to happen and other things like that.
It should be different from the RTS.
Essentially, we're going for a game that starts fast and plays fast. We want them to have short game time, so basically we demo in 5 minutes. We want to go play that. And most RTS games are like that. We'll have like the average. Usually we'll have a high ramp up.
With kind of more characters, actual characters instead of machine that you see in RTS, how are you guys handling your animation pipelines? It seems like you guys have a lot of creatures that will be roaming around constantly.
Yeah, definitely. So we have, I think pretty unique to our group, we actually have 3 already dedicated artists and animators that are in-house. So a lot of the pipeline of actually getting animations into the game will be here, local, and we'll be training them in UVK over the summer. Also, I think with all the art that we actually have, we're going to have to use some preset animations, rigs that will be like placeholder for a character, walking by heads and stuff like that. Can already be automated, at least partially, and then we'll go to stylize from there.
Design wise, how are you going to balance the early engagement punching combat with like a longer than 30-second experience? Like, I don't know, for example, a team having all those holographic inserts.
Players will have the ability to disengage. Some games may be very quick, but people usually like that and on the next play they'll be able to adjust the strategy.
So, do you have an idea for how to disengage, or is that something
That's something that we'll be working on. I mean, we can basically balance the behavior and switch around that, but we need to test it.
I think one of the core is looking at the guy as the commander, giving him certain abilities, certain attacks that allow him to be sort of defensive unit. You don't want to go rush into attack right away, so you build it.
Anything else?
All right, target, you have 12 people on the team now. How many can you target you?
We actually have
Internal we have 12. Internals.
And
I think it's going to end up being around 20 people. Yeah, it's going to be a big team. It's a lot of content, but we have experience with lots of content.
20 people here.
Yeah.
Okay. Plus, plus the one.
And reimagine a big someone is 17 as well.
Oh, Tracy questions.
So I'm raising my hand so Sam gets attention.
I just had one question. The team breakdown as it exists now has no producers. Is that, are you intending on having a leads for the different sections basically produce those? Or
We
is
are
this just
currently-
you don't need a production team?
Well, sorry, I'll take on this. We actually have been talking about the producer role a lot. We haven't put it on the pitch. We do have people that we're talking about moving into the producer role and also filling the other roles. We just haven't just made a decision quite yet, but yeah, that'll definitely be a rolling.
Okay, and just for the rest of these and the next ones, you guys should use the mics, because I know for some of the people back here, it's hard to hear.
Sorry about that, guys.
I did have a question though. So you mentioned up at the top that you had designed this game for the constraints of demo day. You wanted something that was going to show off well very, very quickly. And I think that you really need to think about your high concept. This is a 20-year-old genre. It's in sort of timeline of video games. It's an old timer. What in 30 seconds makes your game the game that has to be made this year?
The mechanic we're going to focus on is that transformation. It's never been done effectively in other games, and it has so much possibility for just, like you saw there, really switching game art. So we want to make that feel great, which we couldn't do it in a prototype, but we want to make that feel great, and we want to make it interesting for the gameplay as well.
All right, that's it. We need to move on to the next.
Thank you.